Chai Chat with Lavina. On 18th of August 1945, in a plane crash, we read in history that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose died. Since then, there have been many theories and theories coming one after the other, which say that probably he was alive, he was in Russia, then he was in Japan, and all sorts. And recently, we have had face mapping done by a gentleman who is with us here on Chai Chat that says that there is strong evidence that he was in Tashkent. Now, I have here with me a very, very smashing panel because I'm totally confused about what really happened and what's the mystery behind Netaji's death. And we do want to know that, and we have a very, very good panel. I couldn't have asked for more. On my right is Mihir Bose, who is a broadcaster, who is an author and a journalist, and who has written the book, The Lost Hero, apart from many others, which is the biography of Netaji. On his right is Anirban Mukhopadhyay, who works in some other field, but has been a Netaji activist, also with Netaji Subhash Foundation, right? And in front of, on my far left, in front of Anirban is Siddharth Sadbhai, who is the man, because of whose study we are sitting here in Bangalore Express. And the study is through face mapping, and the report is on his website, which he's going to tell you about. And on his right is Dr. Kusum Vadgama, who is the founding director of Indo-British Heritage Trust, celebrated 400 years of Indo-British association and history. And more than that, she's a fantastic lady, an inspirational lady who wanted to be in Netaji's forge, right? And rather for Captain Lakshmi, and she told me she used to carry a knife. You're not carrying today, right? Thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining us on Chai Chat in Bangalore Express, right in the heart of London, that serves absolutely smashing Indian food presented in a way which is so tempting that we only want to eat. Let me go straight to Siddharth. There you go, folks down. Talk up, Siddharth. What is this study and what are you saying? In brief, please.
In brief, it's that we discovered a ghost lookalike at the Tashkent Declaration. I got some suggestions. I decided to investigate.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I over the course of a few years, I went to various archives around the world and collected as much information as I could about them. And then we ended up commissioning a British facial mapping expert to give his professional scientific opinion on that. So I'm not saying it is those. I'm also not saying it's not those. I'm curious. I want to know, why did I get this anonymous tip? And who is this man? Which the expert says it's a strong probability that it could be.
Yes, and I did your interview before, and if I remember right, you said that this strong probability in the court of law, if I may just say, could sway a case. Not serve as an evidence, but could sway a case. That's how I understand. Now, everyone, probably Mihir would be the best person to react to this, because you come from the school of thought that he did die in the accident, is it?
It's not a school of thought, it's a fact he died. I've gone through all the documents available. My research on this book started way back in 1977-78 when some of the people who knew Subhash Bose were alive, like Uttam Chand Malhotra, Satyaranjan Bakshi. You know what is rather sad about this story is that Subhash Bose was a great man.
Yes, indeed.
India has spent 70 years building up these fantasies about what happened to him. They should accept he died and talk about his great policies, his great ideas. Why I find all this is Siddharth says there's a photograph. Well, this is the photograph he's talking about. This was published in 1995 in a book dealing with Lal Bahadur Shastri, written by the man, civil servant, who was with him. After you rang me about him, I looked up. I have had this book for a long time, and this man, the one whose face mapping has been done, I understand, is a Pakistan diplomat. standing at the right of Ayub Khan. Now, if this is Subhash Bose, think about it. Subhash Bose appears in Tashkent almost 20 years after his disappearance. And he appears next to Ayub Khan. Why should he appear next to Ayub Khan? For what purpose? Subhash Bose died in the plane crash. There's lots of evidence here in my book, by people who investigated it. End of story.
End of story. Should we say end of story, Anirban and Siddharth? Should we go to Anirban first? Then Kusumji, you say something as well. You almost wanted to join him. But please react to it and then we'll come back to you, Siddharth, with the picture that he showed. Yeah? Anirban, please.
Possibly that's the beginning of the story, so that's the beginning of the cover. So the point is, there is no doubt there is a huge mystery. Now, as a common man, what is my position? I can see Mr. Bose has written a book which says he is dead. There are Congress governments over successive years, they even tried to bring in the Netaji so-called ashes from Japan. So that's one school of thought. Definitely that's one school of thought.
Yeah.
Now, if you put it in the present context,
Yeah.
there is a Mukherjee Commission report, God knows why it was rejected, no reason was given, clearly said that he did not die in the plane crash. What happened to him, that's a bit to confirm, but that has made it very clear. Clearly, the mandate for those two commissions was to kill Netaji in the air crash. That's the mandate you have.
So politicizing the whole issue has been your point ever since. So
Justice Mukherjee was done under a court directive. It was not under a, Justice Mukherjee was reporting to a court, not to the PM or that was the only commission which was really neutral and that worked mostly with the non-Congress government and they followed a completely different thing.
I don't agree with all the reasons given. Basically, after independence, Congress was the biggest gangster organization in India that tried to run the country based on a dynasty. There was nothing democratic about the system in India. So even the Tashkent, the picture that's shown there, it has not even been used for the aerial map because you can't see him. So we had to actually dig
You have used
raw
a fictitious
material.
picture then?
No, I went to raw materials from actual archives that you can also go to yourself independently and verify that he's there.
This is a picture published 20 years ago in a book.
That he's a Pakistani diplomat.
Yes, of course.
This is identify him.
But he has been identified.
Who is he?
This was
You can
published.
stop the whole. You can stop the whole history
This was
behind
a,
that.
there is no mystery. If you go out with great respect, if you go out and you start a mystery, it's very difficult to stop the mystery. If you start the mystery, where is Malgudi, for instance, which is Malgudi, creation of Ark in Iran, you say no, it wasn't a creation of Ark in Iran. It's a real place.
Why do you walk around and saying he's been identified as a Pakistani diplomat? So what's his name? Where can I find out more about him?
In the book.
but what is it then? Who is that man according to you? Who is supposed to be Subhash then?
I'm told he's a Pakistan diplomat. He's standing behind. No, I've only discovered this afternoon about this picture. I've been on to Oxford University. They will go through their archive because they've published the picture. They would know.
Why can't they do a DNA test on it? Because we must have material belonging to Subhash.
No, but they don't want to do a DNA test on those ashes that are there.
Why not?
The Bose family don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because they think this is. You see, I've been to that temple. It's very sad to hear the Japanese say, "You say Subhash Bose is one of your greatest men. Why don't you take these ashes back?"
I mean, that ashes has been already established, it's not a
No, it is not. I'm sorry. This is nonsense.
Let's not even discuss about the ashes. I mean, it's
No,
not even
tell us
worth
more
discussing.
about the ashes. Why not? Let's enlighten ourselves.
It's the ashes of a Japanese soldier. It has been now established beyond doubt.
No, I'm
Of
sorry.
course,
Nobody
the
has
Congress
established.
school of thought will
Nobody has
like
established. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is just nonsense. The
Yeah,
ashes, the
of course,
evidence
of course,
is.
yeah.
You see, the problem. No, hang on. If you're going to discuss why he didn't die there are any number of people who were on the plane. A couple of them died. some of them were injured. They all gave, within a short period, testimony that this is what happened.
They all
right?
lied. They all lied.
This is absolutely nonsense.
How? What is the basis of the fact that they lied?
Because Japan helped him escape, so they want to cover that up, obviously.
Japan was not in a. I'm sorry, you don't understand history. Japan was not in a position. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. What was Japan? You know what happened? What was the date we're talking about? The date you mentioned. That was 2 days after Japan's surrender, right? Why did Japan surrender? Japan surrendered because 2 atom bombs were dropped in Japan, and the Emperor of Japan went on radio and spoke for the first time. The Japanese had never heard the Emperor's voice. Japanese were in complete shock. Go through the Japanese records. Many of their major figures committed suicide. They didn't want to surrender, right? So Japan was in a complete state of shock. Russia had already invaded Japan and was gobbling up territory.
Tashkent, you went to Russia, that's what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, he doesn't understand.
Let's do one at a time.
Hang on. Let me. The last picture of Bose that is verified is Bose in Saigon, right? Subhash Bose in Saigon. So Subhash Bose has a meeting with his ministers of the provisional government, and their feeling is that he should surrender to the British in Singapore. He doesn't. He goes to Saigon, gets a Japanese plane. He wants to go to Russia. That is his plan. He wants to go to Russia, and the route to go, the plane route that he has to take, is to go to Taipei, which is Taihoku as it was called, Formosa as it was called, because it was a Japanese colony. It was Japan ruled, as it ruled a lot of part of China at that time. And he has to take a plane, and there's a Japanese colonel who will go with him and try and see, because that Japanese colonel is going to discuss surrender terms with the Russians. Because the Russians, the war has ended, and that is the point where he will be handed over. That is why he's there, and the plane crashed.
Okay.
So
Now,
that is
Anirban, now let us go to his work. What is your version?
There was
Because you have people who have researched and they have another version. What is that version? What happened to him after that point of
That's the
Saigon?
whole point. That's why we are wanting declassification. Now, my whole point is, why did it take Mission Netaji and a group of 5 people, Anuj, Srijit, Panikar, Shantan, Chandrachud, and Vishal, why did it take them almost 10 years, gradually expanded? Why did it take them to push for declassification about 60 years after the death of Netaji,
Yeah,
so-called death of Netaji?
Yeah. I want to understand why do we need this declassification and what are the documents that you need declassification of?
To unweave this fantasy that has been built that he has died.
So what are the documents you're looking for?
The files of the ID and the raw files of those periods.
Of 1945 and so onwards. Okay. So you want the declassification of the files of that period in order to understand whether he died or not.
Yes.
Now Siddharth, are you waiting for the declassification as well? What are you waiting for, and how do you think, why do you think, apart from this picture, do you have any other evidence to say that he was probably alive? And like he said, the various things of what happened to him in Saigon, to Russia and the plane, what is your theory?
My theory on what happened in post-1945.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, of course, I'm waiting for declassification because the Prime Minister of India himself said there are files, secret files, which we have, the Intelligence Bureau also has, which need to be declassified because they're not in the public domain. I mean, they're not in the National Archives.
Yes.
And he said, even Rajnath Singh said, that when these files come out, it will change the political landscape of India. Now, why would that be if he died in 1945? Does that make any sense to him? And then, aside from that, doing my own research, also what other researchers in India, I have utmost respect for that. There is evidence that he was not probably only in Tashkent, but maybe in other countries. Maybe he was at the Paris Peace Talks, and maybe we get that material, which I also have, as I explained earlier, analyzed. We would get even more evidence, of course, that he's alive.
Okay.
He was alive, rather.
Kusumji, what would be your take on everything? I think you come from a neutral perspective.
Well, I first of all think belittling Subhash Chandra Bose to say that he became a saint. My God, re-born and that. But that is out of the question. The fact is that the state, other people were involved in killing him. They found out Subhash Chandra Bose is still alive somewhere. You think they would leave him alone? They would find him and kill him if they wanted to destroy him or get rid of him. So that I don't understand. And I also find there's some common involvement in this if one of the theories is going to be proven. And I think there is something that the Indian government is not telling us the truth about. And I think it is a great insult for a national leader who is being eclipsed for his fight for freedom.
Do you believe he was alive?
No.
No. You still think that he
on the
was...
basis that a man of his mission in life,
would not have turned into a sage?
if I was killed in a plane crash, I don't think I would just become a recluse and forget about my fight for freedom. Not at all. I think I would maybe...
I agree with that to an extent. Though I don't believe he died in the plane crash, I have a tremendous amount of difficulty accepting the Oriental angle where he was hid away in literally a hole in Faizabad.
So you will be contradicting your own statement in a way. We're going to, on that note, end the first segment, and we still have Mihir, who thinks he died. He wants to know whether he died or not. He says he didn't die, and Siddharth says he didn't die, and Kusumji says that he dies. So we still are much...
I think he was killed. Why
he was killed.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why you want the declassification to understand how he was killed or died or what happened.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. That is a very heated discussion over very tempting food on Chai Chat, but this will continue because I do want to ask in the next segment very quickly, why so much interest in Subhash Bose, Netaji at this point in time? Is there any politics to this entire issue at all? So please stay with us and we'll come back in a jiffy.